And yes, today we are doing a Memorial Day inspired painting with some watercolors. And if you have some acrylic markers available, I have these. You can also use those. So we're going to have, of course, a watercolor palette, different size brushes. I have a medium 1/4 inch flat brush and a thin round liner brush, a pencil, of course, to do a little sketching. And then we have something to put our watercolors to mix, of course, a cup of water. And anytime you're working with water, you definitely want to have some paper towels nearby. And I have this handy dandy little ruler to get us going for the picture as well. So with our inspiration, I'm just going to get started with a quick little sketch and teach you a cool little technique to make these stars. So the stars look a little intimidating, but when we use this technique, we can make multiple stars by just using a copy of one. So I'm just going to do my best to recreate a star the same size as my inspiration on a separate little scrap piece of paper. And it's going to do a little sketching of a star. And if you're having a little trouble, you can just do an A shape and then come up and across and down. So I have my little star. It's going to represent all these stars here. And then I'm going to color the back of the area where my star was drawn. And I'm going to use this to kind of make a copy. So when we go to draw our stars, we're going to have something to help us. So this is our inspiration. I have mixed media paper here, and I'm going to use this ruler to create a straight edge. You can also use another sheet of paper to create a straight edge. And I'm going to come across about a little bit less than halfway. I'm going to cut across with a straight line. So I'm going to draw a dot. Here's the top of my page. And I'm going to think of something a little bit less than halfway. I'm going to mark a dot here. And then it's going to come down at an angle. And the angle's not going to come all the way down. I'm going to leave about 2 fingers from the bottom. So here's my dot. And then about 2 fingers from the bottom, coming down at an angle, I'm going to put another dot here just to kind of gauge how far down I'm coming. And I'm going to take a ruler and create a straight line. Again, if you have a piece of extra paper, you can try to do a straight line there. And then we're going to create a little bit of a wave going backwards. So that's going to be the wave that sets the tone for our other waves. So anytime that I'm doing any kind of sketching, I don't try to do it all in one shot. I try to take it little piece by piece. So a little curve here, a little curve there. And you should have a little wiggly worm happening, almost like 2 little bumpy hills. And that's going to be the curve of our flag on our page here. So I'm going to use that as a reference to kind of now bring it all the way across my page. And then we'll go ahead and create a parallel line below and above. So this little curve here is going to set the tone for all the lines going up and all the lines coming down. So I have one that's going to get sketched right here. So I'm going to start about here, and I'm just going to try to follow the curve and just taking my time, not trying to do it all in one shot. I'm taking little strokes and just bringing it across and just trying to follow that curve and keeping it about 2 fingers to a finger and a half width apart. And you can erase and adjust as much as you need, just to make sure you get the thickness correct. Here we go. And I think I'm happy with that thickness. Not too big, not too small. And then we're going to use this little curve to create another. Just do a little switcheroo so you can see the correct side of. So now we're going to go building up the lines here on the side. So about 2 fingers, I'm going to mark a dot. going up the line here. So about every 2 fingers. Just using it kind of as a placeholder. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. Doesn't matter if it matches exactly here. Just the general sizing is the same. So we're going to create a parallel line to this little curve here. So I'm just going to kind of follow what's already there. So I'm going to dip a little down and then come a little up and then dip a little down. And again, dipping a little down, coming a little up, and dipping a little down and repeating all the way up. Dip a little down, go a little upward, and come a little down, and again, dip a little down, come a little up, and up, down. So we have our flag curves created. And so now we're going to bring back the ruler. We're going to lightly draw. If you see the way that the stars are placed, they're kind of in a straight line going in a diagonal this way. So I'm just going to give myself a little guide of how to kind of spread apart the stars. So I know there's one little mark here, so I know there's a star there. And I'm just going to give myself another little mark. So there's a group of stars there. And I'm just following that little, just marking where I know that there's going to be a line of stars in between. Just a little placeholder. So I know how far to go. Okay. So just marking some here to know how far to take my stars. And I'm using this method of kind of creating a copy so that I can keep all my stars about the same shape and size. So I'm just going to place this part at an angle. So instead of my star being straight like that, I'm just going to tilt it up at an angle. And then I'm going to gauge where my line is and draw a star. Over, just retracing a little sketch we made. And there should appear a little star underneath. And you can go ahead and just add some more pencil to the back of your page as you continue to do this. And now I'm going to go ahead and do 2 stars with my page kind of lining up to that mark I made. So the next row is going to be 2 stars. And we're just using our little stencil to kind of retrace. And you can also kind of lift up how far your star is to kind of gauge how far apart you want it. And just keep trying your best to fill the next row. We're going to do 4 stars. So I'm going to look up and see how far we're going to go. And again, use our little pattern to create a star, then add some more. Oh, it will work first. Worked reverse as well. So we have that star. So we're going to do 3 more in this row. 1. This is the second. 2, 3. And the good thing about it is if it doesn't look right or if you want to do it over, it's erasable. So you can gauge, and it just keeps it kind of all in a row. The next I have after the 4s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stars. So try to fit 6 stars best you can. So again, just coming in. 1. And I'm just using this little guideline just so it can stay at the same angle. 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think if I do one more, it might be too close. So I'll just keep what I got there. But if you can fit 6, that'd be great. And a little more filling in here. And on to the next go ahead. We might be able to fit 5 in this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have another 2 rows, and just fill in accordingly. Putting some more pencil on the background if needed. And just continuing to fill up. Just so it looks as spaced out as best you can. And I'm going to get rid of our little guidelines. And there you have your stars. So it looked a little intimidating, but with our nice little guide here, it got us through. Another different technique that you can use to create a star is you can start with an A shape and then go up across, across, and down. And then you can erase the lines in the center. So that's another way to get a star shape. And again, just one more time, creating an A, going up, across, and down, and then just erasing the inner lines, like so. But there we have our sketch. Here we have our inspiration. And now to get started, I'm going to use that 1/2-inch flat brush. I'm going to add some water to my brush. And I'm going to find myself a nice navy blue color. Do some testing here for you. And most general watercolor palettes will have the
All right, so we've lost Erica. I don't know how that happened. I will reach out to her and see what happened. Stay tuned, folks. I'm just giving her a quick call. Hey, Erica.
Hi guys, sorry for the technical difficulties. Give me one moment. So we're gonna get started.
Okie doke.
Yeah, the internet just went out on my page, so I'm putting it to the cellular. So we should be good. Okay. So we have some blue in our watercolor. We're gonna get started in the stars area, and just gonna put the volume up for you guys. So we'll just go ahead and start filling in and just kind of follow the outline first, just retracing the initial sketch like so. And then you're just going to retrace all the stars. So you try your best just to go around all the drawn stars. It's a little tedious, but enjoy. All this hard work will definitely be worth it. So we're just retracing our steps. And again, this is with a navy color. If you need more pigment, go ahead and touch your brush into some more paint, swipe across. And keep going best you can to retrace it. What's good about this type of drawing as well is that you can use colored pencils or markers just as easily. And with that little star guide, you're just gonna retrace the stars and just color this area in with some blue. So it lends itself well to different mediums. That's why I like this style. And again, just coming around, swiping across my palette a little more, getting some more pigment with some little bits of white. And continue here. Retracing our way around. And what's good about using that little stencil trick too is that when it traces the little star guideline, it does it a very nice light job. So it blends itself well once you add the color. And again, just coming in. And once we trace or retrace around all of these white stars, we'll then start taking our time filling in the area. Working on our last 4. And the last one. Okay, so once we have all of these retraced, we're going to really pull a lot more pigment. So again, a couple swipes against my watercolor palette. Going to put some to the side, a couple of dips of water. And then now we're going to really do our best to fill in with a nice, even dark shade. And the way that I'm going to do that, I'm just going to fill in right next to each other. Just really pull the color line by line and in an orderly fashion, just filling up with straight lines, almost overlapping the previous line. So just going line by line and filling in the gaps. Line by line. And painting at an angle, line by line. And I have a scrap paper underneath too if I go over the edge to kind of catch any excess. But you can also put blue paint around your edge if you'd like a clean line. You can use green painter's tape. And then when you pull it up, you'll have a nice clean edge. But I just have this scrap paper underneath in case anything kind of goes over. And again, just swiping at an angle and trying to fill everything in line by line. More one direction. Swiping across for some more pigment. And pulling in the same direction. And just continue to fill all the glue in, line by line. And keep moving. Again, filling in all the blanks. Lots of stars. And again, when I pull the color, I'm just going right next to the previous line that was created. So they're almost side by side overlapping as I'm moving through the background. A little more pigment, add a little more water from my brush, and finishing up the last touches. And then I'm just going to go in anywhere that it looks like it has a lot of strokes. I'm just going to go over it and try to smooth out anywhere that it shows many strokes. So maybe just go over it again. Try to make it look all similar. Just do a little cleanup. And also darken some of the lighter areas. And you can really play with it to try to get all one dark shade just by layering and layering. Just making sure that it stays a little touch darker. Just so it more closely resembles the flag. One swipes at the palette. Just want to enhance this area here just has a touch of lightness. I do want it a hair bit darker. So it should be a little more added. And you can play with it till you're satisfied with the shade, but the more that you layer, the darker it'll become. And then we'll be working on the stars and the stripes. So when it comes to stars and excuse me, when it comes to the stripes, we're going to be working with not white, because although it looks like it could be white, it's actually a very, very pale yellow. So we have a white, and that's going to be using almost like a pale yellow and almost giving it like a faint antique look. So it's going to be a very, very watered down yellow, and then we're going to alternate it with, of course, some red. So I'm liking the darkness of most of this area here. Can use a little water too to spread any pigment you might already have on here. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry, come back to it if I feel like any other spaces need some darkening. Like this area here, for example. All right, so a quick wash of the brush, which is a tap and a swirl at the bottom, and then you can use a paper towel to kind of dry. And once you touch your paper towel and there's nothing on there, it means you're ready for the next color. There we go. So we have ourselves a shade of red that we're going to use. So we're going to use a shade of red, and then we're going to alternate the red and a very pale yellow. So I'm really loading up my brush with some water and swiping across my palette like so. I'm just going to put some on the cover just so I can really have some color ready and ready, rearing to go. So swiping. And again, that's giving like a rosy kind of shade. So I'm just going to test on this. This is going to be the red shade that I use. So always have a little test, because sometimes watercolors can be very similar. The tester will do the job pretty quick. And if you ever make a mistake too, you can always take a piece of paper and dab to pull up color. You don't have to wipe so much. A dab will do the job. So here we have our red pigment, and I'm going to start the red here. Again, having a little scrap paper at the bottom in case I go over. And I'm just going to retrace the line first, and then do a little filling in. So a little retrace. Pulled from the palette. And then we're gonna fill in. And I'm just swiping left to right. But once I'm done filling in the area, I'm going to then go in and follow the curve with all my strokes just to give it some movement. So that first layer, you can go in really quickly just to fill in the general area. And then the second layer, you can come in and really follow the movement of the flag just to give it some shape. Give it the illusion that some movement is happening. So again, some red. And here we are in the next area. I'm going to retrace the edge. Add lots of water to my palette by dunking it in and just pull it over. Following the curve, filling it in, creating that movement. Just like so. And now with the next line, same thing. Going to come into some red. And following the curve with all of my strokes. So retrace the edges and then following the curve down and up and down. Down, down, up, down, down, up, down. And this will get 2 layers. Just like so. And the next, again, retrace the curve. Retrace the curve. And follow the curve with your strokes. This is going to get 2 layers. So once this first layer gets put on, we'll continue with a second layer. And then we'll add some shading as well. The shading is what's going to give it that illusion that it's got a little movement and a little fold happening. So again, we'll come in towards the bottom. Lots of water and swiping across and then following that edge. Again. Swiping. And then I'm going to come in just in this area here, right below. And as it goes up, we're going to darken that area a little bit just to give it a little bit of a look of a shadow. So that's really going to get a heavy concentrate of a curve and extra pigment. So this little curve is going to pop a little more. And then the way that I can do that also is taking a little blue, teeny tiny, the teeniest amount of blue. It almost comes out to be like a clear kind of slight off red. That was with a touch of blue. And I'm just going to swipe over that area just a hair with that hint of that reddish blue. And I'm going to work my way up with a little curve motion all the way up just like so. And then just adding another layer, just so it doesn't look pink. Just want it to look red with a little different hue, which is going to be that blue touched with some red. Again, just swiping across the palette. Filling in. And a couple more swipes of the red to fill out this next layer here. Again, using lines that follow the curve. And then a good clean brush. And then we'll dip into a little soft yellowish action. So I'm going to take my almost yellow ochre color and give it a little clean. This guy's a little greenish. So I'm just going to dab my paper towel. Got myself a nice clean shade now. I'm going to pull with a lot of water. And put it into my separate palette. And just give myself a wash. So I'm pulling that yellow in here. I'm going to literally touch some brown too, if you have a little brown, just to give it a little antique-y look. And then I'm really going to add a lot of water to this, just really lighten it up, make it super, super see-through. And use my little tester sheet to see that it just looks like a little bit of a dirty water. A little bit dirty, a little bit used, a little bit old, a little bit aged. That's what we're looking for. And I'm just going to come in with that shade and just fill it up. Now the edges of the red pigment are still super sensitive, as well as the blue. You can easily pull pigment. So just try to get as close as you can. And if you find yourself pulling in pigment, again, you can go ahead, take your paper towel, press it down, and that will help clean up any color being pulled in. So again, we're just kind of antiquing this like so. And trying our best really just to get this wash on, but still trying to follow that curve. And again, I accomplished this little antique color by swiping a little brownish and a little yellowish color from my palette. I'm going to add a lot of water to it. Give it a good mix. Do a little test. See that it needs more water. Because you want it very see-through. You just don't want the page to be stark white. You wanted to give it the idea that this flag has been around for a while. So again, just following the curve, up, down as the stroke goes on. Down and up. Down and up. Little antiquing goes a long way. So it just got rid of that harsh white shade. Antiqued it a bit. And then we're going to come into these stars and do a little fillaroo. Again, just a quick cover. Trying your best not to touch the edges because it will pull in some blue pigment. So you just want to age the stars 1, 2, 3 with a quick little wash here. So we're just doing the aging process, working through. Again, with a little yellow and a little brown, you can make more of this. It's almost like a tea color. You can pull up that pigment from there. Right, so we shouldn't have any bright white stars, just little pigment here and there. And then we're going to really work on kind of creating a little bit of more shading. So the shading you see here, and then it comes up in between here. Very, very little bit, very subtle. So we're going to try to do one in the same, again, a little watered down bluish pigment. And I'm going to take that bluish pigment, has a little yellow to it. So a little blue with a teeny tiny bit of yellow antiquing to it. And I'm going to tap it because I want a little bit of a dry brush. I want to kind of dry brush. Tap the excess and just create a little curve and some blue. Gonna make a little more of that blue. Add a little water to it just so it's a little see-through. A little bit goes a long way. Again, just kind of coming across. And just creating that darkness. Over that area. And then the same thing with a touch of the red. Coming in. Just making it a hair darker. With the same little curve. And even over on this side as well. Having a bit of a shadowy area. So a little extra red on the bottom left. And a little of that darkness here. And then you can even continue on this little far end, same And if you think you put a little too much, you can just tap it out, but have yourself a little darkness here. Some more red. Couple of swipes here. And if you want to get really creative and clean, you can come in with an acrylic marker. I have the acrylic marker here. It's like a creamy beige, just to give the stars a little pop and create a just cleaner overall line. You can come with an acrylic marker on top in a creamy beige color. Or you can even use a white colored pencil to just clean up the little points of the stars here and just liven it up a bit. And then, of course, once you're done with the star cleanup, you've finished antiquing your stripes, adding a little shadow. You can really play with the layering of the watercolors, making it as dark or as light as you wish. I'm happy with how this turned out. I just want to clean up some of these points of the stars. I feel like we lost some points along the way. And once I'm done with this creamy beige acrylic marker, I will then use another thin liner brush and sign my work of art. So we're almost done. As soon as these little stars shine again, and there you have a flag to symbolize all the sacrifices that the brave men and women who fought for our country have made. So in honor of Memorial Day, you have this little something to just remind you of those who fought for our country. And there you have nice little cleaned up stars. And a thin little liner brush for our signature, and maybe some black. Can do black little signature at the bottom right. And there you have our Memorial Day inspiration, a little antique flag. Thank you guys for joining me.